what made you think then that there was a need of another perp DEX?
I think like the moment in the 2022, I think that was a harsh lessons for all traders. It's like no matter how big the branding becomes, no matter how smart the team, like us traders, we can never blindly trust them.
The fees you generate around $2 million per day in fees?
Yeah.
What do you do with this money? What do you do with those fees collected?
Yeah, of course, like after TG, like the majority of it will be used for buyback.
How many % of buyback do you plan to do? Between 99% and 100%. To wrap it up, where do you see Ajax in 6 months?
Yeah, I would say like in 6 months. That's
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Same as always.
Okay. All right. I saw your profile on X, and then you are co-founder of Edgex, right?
Yeah, I'm one of the co-founders. So we have 4 in total.
And it's interesting because on your Twitter bio, you say contributor. And how do you differentiate a co-contributor versus a co-founder? Or like, why did you choose that instead of just saying co-founder?
Actually, I would say, since it is a decentralized project, so I would say towards the futures, it's gradually, I think it will actually encourage more, let's say, our community to actually take more participation like into the governance and also the future growth. So I think in the end, I hope it's in the end, it's everyone like in our community, not only the people from our team, but also like all the community members can all, becomes like a contributors. And so that's, that's one thing, I would say is kind of so that's why, I define it like as a core contributor, but yeah.
That's interesting. Actually, could you explain shortly what is EdgeX?
So Ajax, we started with a perp DEX, like when we started like almost 2 years ago. And after, I would say like after years, like our like official launch, I think like right now it's a time, I think we will be expand to more than a perp DEX. And so I would say like the directions of like what we are growing will actually becomes a liquidity networks. So what that means is like on top of our liquidity networks, it's not only we will be able to support perp as one of the applications, but also more, like that also includes spot and also other, I would say like various like different DeFi applications and trading related products, and we want to do.
So how would this translate for the user point of view? Like, what is this liquidity means as for me, for example, a retail trader? I think you let's say for retail traders, I think what we want to have, like to put it to simplify, I would say it will be a unified interface. And that's also one of our highlights we have is actually the mobile app we have. The goal is really to build up like an interface that's meant to lower the threshold for retail users to enter the DeFi. And so it's a unified interface, but inside this unified interface, actually there will be different DeFi applications, like our perp DEX, for example. But also gradually we are going to curate like more DeFi applications like to the interface, and all I would say like we're trying to have it all keep to like a quite higher standard. So there's like do have certain in terms of a standard for the security and stability, just like how we built Ajax the first perp DEX. And in the end, it's not only the perp but also spot, also other, let's say like lending or other like DeFi applications like users where needed will all be kind of like aggregate into one interface. And behind everything of that, is will be like a liquidity in our ecosystem to support like various those DeFi applications together. Okay, so you want to bring like all the services, like everything we could do on chain basically into one place. Actually, I would say so kind of like right now, CX actually have like
really comprehensive, like a suite of services they provide to the users. And like right now, I think for most of the CEX, it's all coming from all those like different services all come from like one like entity or like one team. But I think to leverage the composabilities of the DeFi, the application doesn't have to, come from like our own team, but they can come from like our ecosystem. So we build certain applications and then, we open like the liquidity networks we have to more, developers like outside of a team who want to build like really innovative, like on-chain applications together.
Okay. What are the numbers of EdgeX? Because I was quite surprised. Like now you guys are like second or third in terms of fees, which is quite crazy for perp DEX, right?
Yeah. So, actually, I think, so the perp business is now something new in the space. Like actually, like a lot of like the perp CX all have really good, I would say like a, revenue generating, revenue flow. And, I would say like it's just these generations of perp DEX are actually, I would say, getting close to CEX levels of the UX performance and is be able to onboard a lot more like traders like on chain. And I think that's the difference. It's like right now I feel like we are right at that time of the moment, and we're actually witness more traders are migrate from CX to DX. Yeah.
That's interesting because I personally love everything decentralized because I love to do on-chain analysis. So and I feel there's more fairness, at least more clarity. I would say there's more transparency. So how do we bring people that like never traded crypto directly to on-chain, for example, to EdgeX? How is it going to work? Or do you think it's only people who are already trading on centralized exchange that are going to move to decentralized exchange?
Okay, so first, like right now, I would say like since right now we only have like one perp DEX applications, so I would say most of our users are coming from they already have like certain levels of understanding on perp trading. So most of them they are already used like perp CX before. So that's most of the users we have like right now at this stage. But I would say like if this question is asked about like how to onboard like more users on chain, I would say, for example, I think like this, let's say these cycles of the market, actually many of the users, the on-chain users are getting on board to on-chain directly, kind of like without CX and through like cultural influence. So kind of like those meme coin, actually this time, like this cycles of the markets, many of the new on-chain users are actually directly on board by the I would say like the meme trading. And so I think that's a good thing actually. Many of those, I would say like in terms of spot asset, like this time, like the price discovery actually can be funded like actually earlier on chain. And I think that's actually getting a lot of like new users on chain.
Yeah. So actually, meme coins were beneficial for on chain then. Before we go deep into this question, let me thank our sponsor of today, Paradex. Because if you go into trading, and that's one that I use, I started to use Paradex before they sponsor because I wanted to fund the airdrop. But perpetual trading should be decentralized. If you're going to trade Bitcoin, Ethereum, or whatever with some leverage, go with decentralized platform. Why? Because we need to fight for decentralization. So centralized exchange don't have the whole control over our economy. And what I love is that you can just invest with their own liquidity provider vault. And I put 4K just a few days ago, and I'm already $13 up. So every day it's making me $5 to $10. As easy as that. It's small, but hey, at the end of the month, that's going to be more. And then with the compound interest, it's going to be more and more and more. So that's still very early. Plus I'm farming the airdrop because Paradex is backed by Paradigm, which is the biggest liquidity provider in the market. They work with every institution, every big funds. So imagine when people start to understand that, what will happen to Paradex, and if they launch their token because I'm farming the airdrop, what will happen with that? Well, we will know surely. So if you want to maximize your points and get a discount, use the code handsome, and then there will be a link in the description as well, so you don't have to Google and to get into some scams, and you can start farming.
I think meme. Actually, I think the crypto space actually started in like with meme, just like Bitcoin, right? That's like the most successful meme actually, and yeah, I think that's what's kind of started. It's actually the meme. The important thing about like meme is actually it's backed by like a really strong community consensus. And I mean, for those really good like meme projects or meme communities. So, and that's something I would say, always fascinated about like the industry. It's about how to build up that community consensus and, on chain or online, in a way like people from different regions, because everyone, see each other as like wallet address. So how are you be able to, let's say like a unified, people like from like a various background, like diverse backgrounds and together. And, I think that's the power of the meme. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it is interesting how like we can on-ramp fiat money directly without going through a centralized exchange. I think like, because it's true that for a lot of people, it gets comfortable to trade on a centralized exchange. Like the crypto you hold on the centralized exchange, as you mentioned, like you have all the services now that are pretty well integrated. So if I have my USDC on the centralized exchange, I can have some APY on it. Even if I hold some Solana, I would get some APY or even be able to stake on it without having to do anything outside. And I think that's quite appealing for an audience.
Yeah, and I think you also reminds me, actually, I would say like this time, we see many more successful projects that's actually coming from like building successful applications, rather than like just the infrastructure. Because I would say like the crypto industry infrastructure, like what we have right now, is much better than what we have like several years ago. And it is time, like for many of the builders, they can start to build really good applications on chain. And I think that's also, like a kind of like a key drive that makes a lot more people on chain like right now.
Actually, that's good you talked about that, because I wanted to ask before, like we talk about like what were you doing before working on EdgeX? Why did you guys choose to build? Correct me if I'm wrong. On a fork of Starknet, or Starkage, I think.
Actually so we are partnered with Stockware team. So they have, different, we can call them, like infrastructure, services. And, the one, like you mentioned, the Stocknet is their own chain. And the one we have is an app specific ZK rollup called the StockEX. Actually, they have StockEX actually before they built their own chain, the Stocknet. And, the origins of the StockEX actually can, go back to the time of 2021, when the partners actually they have was DYDX. So the DYDX V3 was actually built on top of the StockEX. And, that was also, I would say the first time, we see like a quite usable, perp DEX, like happened like on chain. And, so the strength of this, tech, is actually, the first is quite battle proven, just through many of the years, since, DYDX V3 and also, some other projects also used, this ZK, rollup services like Immutable. So the tech itself is quite, battle proven. And, so I would say that's one thing I would say so I would say like our team always have, I would say like a risk management, mindset, especially when what we build is actually, a DEX is which directly relates to users, the asset security. So the asset security and stability are always, I would say, always the top priority for any builders who want to build, exchange related products. So I would say that's also, I would say, the most important reason why we choose StarEX as a start. And yeah, that's just because it's quite better proven. Yeah.
And what does it bring for the user to have a zero knowledge proof on this?
Yeah, so first is fully self-custody on Ethereum mainnet, actually. What that means is like all users' assets are custody like permissionlessly, on Ethereum mainnet directly. What that means is actually, if anything, I would say if there's any issue, let's say on our platform, on Ajax, on the applications levels, people can still safely like withdraw like their asset. So I think that's a principle. I think that's always a principle about like building a DEX. It's actually the self-custody is what I think the matters most, to the users who want to give DEX a try. It's like they remain fully control of full ownership of their assets, no matter what happened. And also, I mean, we learned, like really, like hard lessons, like in the 2022, like what happened to FTX. So I would say the self-custody is, I would say is always like, super important to all traders. Yeah. And,
okay. So, yeah, I hope it's not going to be a curveball question, but let's say if someone is on EdgeX and managed to find a flow in your market making or whatever in your pricing and they make profit from it, then will they get blocked or they're going to manage to be able to withdraw their funds?
Like we can never block any user's fund. So let's say if there is any exploit, happened to our system, like the users, like they can always withdraw their fund. And so that's also, I would say that's also actually reminds us and also keeps us, I would say, alarmed like all the time. It's like we have to be really careful with like risk management. And actually right now, like for example, like it's actually becomes like a standard practice among all the perp DEX. It's like everyone are using like the like a liquidity provider, like as a vault, to provide the liquidities. And those vaults are actively, providing the liquidity to the markets, like on the DEX. And we have also, like witnessed, several price manipulation, happened on other platforms. So what we can do, I would say a lot of like those details are in the risk management. So it's like before, what we can do is actually, what we can do is prevent like those price manipulation before they happened. And, that's, just tied to, closely to the risk management like we have. Yeah. Risk limits. Yeah. We set up like for the risk management.
Yeah. I think like, one of the popular event was the Jelly.
Yeah.
And maybe in some way 10-10. So that's the vault you guys talk about, like the E strategy.
Yeah.
And I see like it didn't have much drawdown actually, the return. So it's been like on 10-10, I guess. Yeah, that's like when there is a big upside to it. So how do you protect yourself from I'm going to call it that way, a jelly scenario?
Like I said, like a lot of us details are in the risk limit. The way we do it is actually we will match the liquidity of certain markets relates to the overall liquidity that markets has. For example, actually many of those altcoins, they just have really, I would say like very, very bad liquidity. And like when we do the risk limits, for different markets, we have, for example, like for those markets, like they generally, they just have lower leverage. and also there, like a maximum cap about like how big those positions can be open. So that's kind of like one way I would say to limit like the risk of the price manipulation to certain levels. Yeah.
Got it. I understand. And then what happened on your exchange during 1010? How did it impact EdgeX? Which was just to remind for our listeners, the biggest liquidation event in crypto.
Yeah, that's so for us, I would say it's luckily I would say we had a perfect uptime, and also we kept like a decent liquidity during that day, and I would say it's like we always trying to keep like a sufficient headroom compared with like what we have right now. So let's say like right now we have so we always have like at least several times of the volumes like we can handle like on the system compare with the volumes we're actually handling like every day. So we always need to keep that headroom in advance to prevent like any kind of like the extreme fluctuations in the market. So our system is still will be able to handle them.
I see. And what were you doing before EdgeX? You say you started to build it like 2 years ago, right?
Yep. Yeah. So actually our team joined in the crypto space since 2017, and we actually started with the traders like basically doing the arbitrage like across different CEX back in time. And that time there was basically only spot available. And then when getting to the 2019, when the derivatives comes out, and we started like our own like a dev team, like we built derivative products for different CEX clients, especially for many of the spot CEX don't have like derivative products at all. So we were actually helping them to do the products, specifically it's a derivative products that include the perp and also leveraged ETFs, and we build the products and help them like optimize the products. So basically providing the product services to many of the clients, and that's kind of like how we've been doing like before we started Ajax, and also I think it's getting the time goes back to when why we choose the Star EX as a start. It's actually since in the 2021 that was also time we started to trade on DEX. And although that time was also super early, but actually I think like we see like it has great potentials to be able to, I would say, to really onboard many users on chain. And after, I would say after 2022, we really started like preparation like to start our own platforms. And also because in CEX, many of the products has been quite standard, but on DeFi, actually there are a lot of unknown, I would say, like potentials and imaginations we would like to try. Like just we haven't done them like in the centralized products before, and and we started the development of the Ajax in the beginning of 2024, and we finished all the system backend by the end of the 2024, and that's also time we launched the products. Yeah.
Okay, wow, that one pretty fast and pretty smooth actually.
It's I would say that's like in the space we have just always been traders and builders for traders. So that's what we do. Yeah.
Okay, and what made you think then that there was a need of another perp DEX?
I think like the moment, really happened in the 2022. I think that was a harsh lessons for all traders. It's like, no matter how big, like, the branding becomes, no matter how smart the team are, and because if it remains as a black box, like as traders, we can never blindly trust them. And I think that's a chance for the crypto technology. And the one keyword I think is trustless. It's about like how we don't really need to trust I would say anything else besides the code. And that's a start. Yeah.
And how can we trust the code then?
The code is actually, that's a strength of the smart contracts. For example, the one we have, the DK rollup, the verify system, everything, and include, most importantly about like a self-custody, all white in smart contract on Ethereum. And that's open source, and that can be verified by everyone. And, yeah.
So do you think that's what makes like EdgeX really different compared to some other perp decks?
I would say like not only on the infrastructure levels. So I would say the DK rollup what the DK rollup provided, is actually a security for users' asset, and that's also I would say like a foundation we have. But beyond that, I would say what we really, I would say like push forward is actually the UX and the performance, and also the liquidity. Because I would say, back in the time, I think the DEX was also, really innovative, in terms of the technology they have. But I think one thing that's really missing, at that time is actually, it's really hard for retail users to use. And also the liquidity for different markets was also not that good. And I think that's what like these generations of the perp DEX really changed, is actually, push forward more with the UX and the liquidities. So like this time, I would say like we are also actually getting a bit closer, much more closer, to the CX levels of the UX and performance compared with like years ago.
And how do you help with the liquidity?
So liquidity, that's actually, helped a lot by the vote we have, is permissionlessly. What that means is like all users can participate. And also, I think also running a vote for long term, the key things is also on the risk management. That's something, like we have discussed about like how to, prevent some like price manipulations like on chain. And, that's also, I would say that's something also, actually more challenging, than the CEX. It's just because of its permissionless nature. It's like when those, let's say like price manipulations happened, like you can never, do something after that, people will withdraw and to wherever they want. But so you just have to be more cautious, like to prevent like those manipulations happen in advance. And yeah, I think that's the key to run the liquidity. One is really to increase like the distributions so anyone can participate, and second is be super careful with risk management. Yeah.
Got it. Interesting. And then that opened a question: why do you think people should care about trading on the decentralized perp DEX? I mean, on the perp DEX instead of just a centralized exchange.
Yeah. So actually, I would say these generations or new traders are be more willing, to explore like the on-chain world, and that's just because I think the decentralized the spirit. And that spirit actually can be translated into real, like I would say, like applications for something like traders cares the most. The first, of course, that's a trustless or self-custody. It's like the users, traders, no matter where you are, you remain like fully control of your own asset, and only yourself, like with the private keys you have, is able to access your fund. And that's one thing. And also the transparency it's because, okay, this is also something I can add to the decay proving part. It's actually, there's another strength it will monitor, like all the transaction, happened like on Ajax. They have to follow the nature time sequence. So there is no front run or anything, happened, people, just should not do. And, that's just one thing to really keep like the integrity of I would say like, the matching result. And, to also make sure like all those, matching results are verifiable on chain. So like, that also means, super important for traders is like, there's no special, I would say like special, privilege for, institutions or market makers. And, I would say except the speed of the hardware, but just the sequence of the order, the matchings are just should have to keep like a really like rigid, like a sequence. And also the last thing is, and I think that's also super important. Actually, it's a time or it's a revolution of the relationship between the platforms and the users. So before, like CEX is in January, they do everything, like within the team, and users to them are you can call them, it's just standard customers. But with the DEX, actually many of those participations are actually coming from the users. For example, the liquidity providing we have right now, is actually, everyone can participate. And also, after the TG, the users can also participate into various governance, like through the tokens they have. So the relationship, of, I would say like the traditional, customers versus platforms and also changed. And that also means that the users will also get benefited from the growth of the platforms together. In a sense, like the customers or users are not just users. They are also, the builders who are actively, participate and contributing, to the platforms they are using.
Yeah. I see. And, that's good because I wanted to talk about like builders and things like that. So you just mentioned a token, like when is the airdrop?
Yeah, so I would say like, what we are going to do is that we are going to launch our tokens on our, own DEX and on our own chain. So right now I would say we are getting to, like the final stage of the testing and auditing, for the new chain and the new, spot DEX. So, and, before our main TG, we are going to actually do a meme job. That's one thing, it's a reward for the community. And it's also where performs as a public testing. So before the main TG, which is, coming in, I would say like, in about like 2 weeks. And, after that, we make sure, everything, the new infra, the new products we have is quite better proven. And then we're going to do the main TG. Yeah.
I see.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. And, how is it then people can get this token? Like, how can someone like get it in advance? Or like, I mean, how can they get rewarded or farm the token?
Yeah, so they can, the most direct way, is actually, just trade, as, like they were trading on the CEX. So in a way, like when they are trading, no matter if they are, deposit into the vault to participate for the liquidity providing, or they are trading like on Ajax, in a sense, they are all providing the liquidity to the ecosystem. And, those, I would say those types of the participation, is directly related to the points program we have. And also, is directly associated to the token airdrop we have.
Got it. Understood. And how does someone that wants to build, like, where would you say where they should start? Like,
okay, so I think so after our on-chain launch, I think our ecosystem will be super focused on DeFi applications or trading related products. Because, come from the background we have, we feel like the trading or the finance, is one of the, I would say, like a real use case, like for crypto tech. And, that also means like we are willing, to actually share like the liquidity networks we have to support, like really innovative, like developers who want to, build some like innovative, like DeFi applications on chain. And, also we don't want to, copy and paste, same applications from chain to chain. That just don't really make sense. So I think in general, I think it's really should leverage like what's the best, the decentralized tech provide, like the transparency, like the composabilities, and they can build, like on chain. And also I think, just like when we started, I think, we should always build something like ourselves as users would like to use, and, the one thing is like, because you are the users, for your own products, so you get super familiar with like what you need to build and what can be optimized. And the second, that means you are building something for someone, rather than, I would say it's a time, to build for yourself and build for other people, not just build for narratives. I think that's, I would say that's something, we always keep in mind. Yeah.
What do you think? Like, do you have any ideas of like, because DeFi application is quite wide. Do you have any idea in mind?
Yeah. So actually, for example, I think, social trading, is one, area, like we are going to, explore a lot, in the next stage, because, traditionally, like social trading in centralized platforms is somehow, it remains as opaque, so people from outside, they would never be able to verify, like the positions, people participating in social tradings, they opened. But in DeFi, because all those, positions, orders, like they can be public, they can be verified on chain. So there's no way, for people to, I would say, in a sense, like to fake the operations they have. And, that's actually add layers of the trust for users who want to, to explore, to follow other people trading or explore or learn how other people trade. So I think that's just one examples about what we can leverage, like the trust that's coming from the decentralized tech to build up like some features that can, right now are actively, used by many of the users who are used in the centralized platform.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And then which language is it? Is it Solidity, or like which tech is it for your chain?
Yeah, Solidity. It will be a native EVM. We are building natively like in the EVM ecosystem. So the language will be just Solidity. Yeah.
Okay. And how was EdgeX funded? Like we talked about an airdrop with a token and things like that. Like how many % goes to VC, the community? Because sometimes like people, they do an airdrop, but it's only VC who gets the money.
Oh, yeah. So, when we started, I would say we are mainly like bootstrapped by our own money. And of course, like we have one super important institution backer is Amber Group. We started like this, together actually back, 2 years ago. And, so they are like currently the most important institution, partner we have. And, in terms of the allocation, actually our tokenomics has been, launched in our documentations. So there is, a 25%, goes to what we call is like core contributors that include, ourselves, Amber Group, and a few, other like angel investors. So together. And, also, I mean, I would say like the backers we have are, I would say they are not like a traditional VC. They are I would say they are all like, more aligned with us for long term. So the vestings like we have for ourselves is actually a 2-year, cliff and 2-year vesting. And, that's just a commitment we have like on this. And, besides that, like there will be like 25% is actually going to be airdrop like, on the day one of our TGE. It's like Genesis, distributions. And then the remaining 50%, I would say, is reserved for the future like community and the ecosystem growth. So yeah, it's a quite straightforward, I would say, like a token allocations we have. Yeah.
Got it. And if you have so yeah, it's going to be 25%, but I see like now, correct me if I'm wrong, the fees you generate around $2 million per day in fees.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like more than 1 billion. So sometimes between 1 billion to 2 billion. Yeah.
And
sorry,
then so that's the volume.
2 million. Sorry. Yeah.
No,
Okay. Yeah.
Maybe on the yearly.
Yeah, that's a
we
goal.
can get.
Yeah.
And then what do you do with this money? What do you do with those fees collected?
Yeah, of course, like after TG, like the majority of it will be used for buyback. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And before TG, what is the usage of the fees?
Right now they have been all reserved, I would say. Like we yeah. And
okay.
Yeah, they will be, like they will all, or also, be used like buyback after the TG.
Okay. Do you think buyback is actually the best thing to do for a token, or just everyone does it because everyone started to do it?
I would say it's really it depends on, if it has like a better use case. I would say like for us, like, so first our developer team is also quite lean and efficient. And so I think the question is really becomes, like, what else, would you use that fund like used for? And, I think, towards the future, it can be, decided and governed by the community together. But right now, if we do a vote, I think most of the users will use, vote for the buyback. Yeah.
Yeah, I got it. Yeah. Is it like buyback is like dividends for the stock market?
I think it's still, it's still differently. I think I think the goal is really about like the token holders should share like the growth from the ecosystem. That's the key.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, that's the main thing. And how many % of buyback do you plan to do?
We haven't finalized the exact the rate yet, but I would say it's a majority. Yeah.
Between 99% and 100%.
Close, yeah.
Close.
Yeah.
And let's say like if someone is completely new to crypto, then you have them completely new, they want to start trading. What would you tell them? Because you've been on all the side. You've been builder, you've been trader, you've been like arbitrage. Like someone come blank, like what you say, like how they can develop an edge and start trading profitably.
I think okay. So here's the thing. I think people should always make informed decision. So, I mean, the first step, of course, they should understand the market. It's read all the data, available as much as possible. So, yeah, I think that's a key. And this is at the same time, I think people can start with some, like a really small amount, just be in the game, so first, of course, always the top priority is always, also it's a risk management, but at the same time, like they also should, not only like people should, study all the strategies and learn all the data, but also they can, with like a really small amount, to be in the game, to feel that market momentum and to test how how those informations has been, consumed. And, so I think those two things, is actually three things super important. The first is actually always the risk management, make sure like you have a quite, balanced portfolio. And, second is read, as much data as possible and read, also learn, different strategies available on the market. And the third thing is, just use a small amount to be in the game. Yeah.
And how do you find good information? I think a lot of people like always get into bad stuff.
I think like right now there are many really good like data platforms available, like the DeFi Llama, and also if it's for perp, I think CoinGlass also provides like really comprehensive like datas, and yeah, I think there are many of the really good resources available. Yeah.
Oh, so you mean like more data approach? Actually, that's interesting. Like really studying what's happening on
like
chain.
especially on chain, because the data are fully transparent and everyone is able to see it, and so I think people need to understand the data, and then they get a better sense about like what is happening. Although, the data is always happened, I mean, like after the markets, but like it's also, people can feel that momentum. And I think that the data is super important. Yeah.
And what kind of data are you looking at those days, or market that you're looking at, sector?
Yeah, actually there are many of them, but actually, recently, I would say I personally have been more focused on the product side. So I would say I'm just less like as active as before, like when I was a full-time trader. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. But then, like, if you were putting yourself in the shoes of a new trader, do you have any recommendation of a sector that you would say, like, maybe study this sector that seems to be a booming one?
Sector, you mean the sector for the markets, or what kind of sector?
I guess we could have prediction market, perp DEX, DeFi, memes, all those different one, like privacy, like all those categories.
Okay, so I would say personally, it's all, if I suggest to some people, who just come from not like a native crypto space, I think in general, I think to look at, some products with revenue will be like an easier approach, to see like,
okay,
does this, like, what is this products, and to use it like from a user's point of view. It's like, if you're users, would you use these products? And then you can start to say like, okay, so that's because like when there's users, generally there will be actual revenues. And then, it can, have like, I would say, certain types of like mathematic models to study, let's say, like if the valuation makes sense or not. I would say that's a easier approach, for traditional, I would say like no crypto people to get a bit understand, for what happened. But yeah. Because I would say the meme is another thing, people need to be more feel about like the community momentum, the consensus. So yeah, I think, it's easier, for people to look at the products, the users, the revenues points of view. Yeah.
That's really interesting. That circles back kind of like what you talked about before, where there's already a lot of infrastructure available in crypto, and then people should focus more on application. And I think we arrive at this point where now we are actually seeing real use cases of decentralized finance, of like using on chain, of actually doing things with it.
Yep. yeah. And also, it's a tendency. I think it's a tendency not only about the crypto space, but also in general. I think people just start to appreciate more about the transparency. People want to know about like what happened, what is happening, and that transparency and trust is what can be provided by the decentralized tech.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's amazing. And to wrap it up, where do you see EdgeX in 6 months?
Yeah, I would say like in 6 months, that's already after our own chain launch, and hopefully I would say like we will have several more like interesting app we built on our ecosystem. So right now we have the Vault, the perp, and the spot is coming. But hopefully, like after 6 months, we can really have, some like use case I mentioned earlier, like the social trading, like also like equity perp, like also, more interesting applications that can be built on top of our ecosystem.
That's amazing. And one last thing I wanted to talk about, because there was before like people were talking about like, oh yeah, if you trade on perp DEX, everyone can see your orders. And then that creates a problem because some people had a strong ego and we think that they get hunted by market makers or whatsoever. What is the case with when there's zero knowledge proof on it? Is it that we cannot see all the orders, or like it's harder to find someone, or?
Yeah, so the ZK proving tag is highlighting the verifiability, instead of like instant like transparency with everyone's orders. So like right now at EdgeX, like people cannot see, the other people's orders. So instead, like they see like all the settlement on Ethereum, like on the mainnet, like after the trade. And the same time, like I said earlier, like the how we leverage the ZK proving tag is about like to leverage its verifiability. So it's make sure like during the process of the order matching, like everything is follow the natural time sequence. And so yeah, to answer your question, like right now is people have like a privacy like for their the order and trade history at EdgeX. Yeah.
That's amazing, KF.
Yeah.
It's a bit strange to call you KF, but I guess that's the name.
I would go back KF. Yeah.
Thank you very much for sharing everything.
Okay.
It was amazing.
Yeah. Thank you.
And
Thank you,
I'm looking forward to see what's going to be built on the EdgeX.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.